A discovery the night was cold, darker than usual. Snow was falling in heavy sheets, covering everything in white silence. Far in the Arctic wasteland, a small EC covert team was moving carefully through the storm. Their mission was simple. On paper, survey the frozen land, check strange satellite signals, and return with information. But deep inside, each soldier knew, missions in this place were never simple. The leader of the team, Major Saeed, walked in front. His eyes scanned the endless ice through the green glow of night vision goggles. Behind him, 4 men followed silently. Their boots crunched on hard ice. Their breaths turned into fog inside their masks. The silence of the Arctic was heavy, almost unnatural, as if the land was hiding a secret. And it happened. One of the soldiers' billow stopped suddenly. His boot had hit something hard beneath the snow. At first, he thought it was just a rock. But when he brushed away the thick layer of ice, his eyes widened. "Sir, you need to see this." The team gathered around. Under the ice, something strange was visible, smooth, not like stone. A clear surface, almost like glass. Major Saeed ordered the men to clear it. They scraped and dug with their tools, until finally a frozen object appeared. It was oval, shining faintly under the flashlight. Almost like a pod. Major Saeed's voice was calm but sharp. "Careful, don't damage it." The team worked for almost an hour until the pod was free. It was heavy, covered in frost, and sealed tightly. Through the ice, something could be seen inside. The men froze, staring in shock that it was not equipment. It was not a weapon. It was a child. Her small body was curled inside the pod. Skin pale blue, almost glowing under the light. Hair white as snow. Her tiny face looked calm, as if she was only sleeping. But her eyes, closed now, had faint silver lines running across the lids. The men stood in silence. No one spoke for several seconds. The world around them felt frozen, even more than the ice. Bilal whispered in fear. "What is this? A human? A ghost?" Major Saeed shook his head slowly. His voice was heavy, almost respectful. "Not human. Look at her. She is something else." A child was unlike anything they had ever seen. Fragile, innocent, but alien. Then one of the soldiers noticed something. He leaned closer to the pod. "Sir, there's condensation. Look." His finger pointed at the inside of the glass. A thin fog was forming from within. Major Saeed quickly placed his hand on the surface. For a moment, nothing happened. And then he felt it. A faint vibration, a faint rhythm. Like a heartbeat. The men gasped. Bilal stepped back, almost falling. "No, this cannot be. She's alive?" The major's eyes narrowed. His soldier's instincts told him one thing. This was no ordinary discovery. This was history itself, sleeping in front of them. Suddenly, their radios cracked with static. Strange sounds burst through the channel, unlike any interference they had heard before. Not natural, not human. Almost like a voice speaking in another language. The men looked at each other nervously. The child in the pod moved slightly, her small hand twitching against the glass. "Sir, we should leave this," one soldier said quickly. Fear was clear in his voice. "This is not our world. We should not touch it." But Major Saeed's answer was firm. "We are soldiers of humanity. If this child is alive, we save her. That is our duty." With careful hands, they lifted the frozen pod. It was heavier than expected, almost humming with strange energy. Every step they took echoed in the frozen wasteland. The storm around them grew stronger, as if the land itself was warning them to turn back. As they moved towards the extraction point, Major Saeed kept looking at the pod. The child's chest was rising and falling slowly now, as if she was breathing. Again, after a long sleep. For the first time, a thought came to his mind that shook him deeply. What if this child was not just alive? What if she was waiting for someone? Far above the Arctic, hidden from human eyes, satellites began to record. Something unusual. A faint signal had been released at the exact moment the child's heartbeat returned. A signal moving fast, beyond the atmosphere, far into the dark sky. Somewhere in the distance of space, something answered. The team didn't know it yet, but they had just awakened more than a child. They had awakened a story much bigger than Earth itself. The pod vibrated once more in Saeed's arms. And in that silent moment, he felt it clearly. The child's eyes were moving under her frozen lids. She was dreaming. And the nightmare was about to begin. Asterisk the awakening, the Arctic mission had ended. But the real story had only begun. Deep inside a secret EC underground facility, the frozen pod was placed in a heavily secured chamber. Scientists, doctors, and agents stood around it, their eyes locked on the strange child inside. The room was silent, except for the constant hum of machines. Everyone could feel it, that heavy tension in the air, like the moment before a storm. Major Saeed stood at the back, arms crossed, his eyes never leaving the pod. He had brought her here. He had taken responsibility. But now, he wasn't sure if saving her was the right decision, or the most dangerous mistake of his life. Dr. Zoya, the lead scientist, adjusted her glasses and spoke in a calm but serious tone. Her body is not like ours. Temperature, skin texture, organ structure, everything is different. Yet, she is alive. Somehow, her cells are frozen, but still functioning. One of the younger agents leaned forward nervously. Are you saying she is immortal? Zoya shook her head. Not immortal. But whoever made this pod wanted her to survive for a very long time. Hundreds, maybe thousands of years. The words sank into the room like heavy stones. Thousands of years? Who could survive such time? What was she? The pod's glass began to fog again. This time stronger. The faint heartbeat was now louder on the monitors, pulsing like a drum echoing in the dark. Everyone stepped closer, unable to look away. Then it happened. The child's fingers twitched. Her hand pressed weakly against the glass, leaving a small print of frost. A low gasp spread across the room. For the first time, her eyelids moved, slowly, painfully, and then two glowing eyes opened. Silver, bright, almost blinding. The entire room froze. Some agents reached for their guns out of instinct. But Major Saeed raised his hand sharply. No one fires. She's just a child. The girl looked around, confused, frightened. Her lips moved, and a soft sound came out like music, but broken, trembling. No one understood her words, but everyone understood her fear. Dr. Zoya stepped forward, speaking gently. It's okay. You're safe. She placed her hand on the glass, trying to show comfort. The child tilted her head, staring at Zoya's hand. Then, with surprising effort, she raised her own small hand and pressed it against the same spot from the other side. The room went silent. For one moment, it was no longer about science, no longer about danger. It was a connection human to alien. A silent cry for trust. But the peace didn't last long. Suddenly, every screen in the control room flickered. Static roared through the speakers. Strange symbols appeared on monitor symbols no human system could generate. Red alarms flashed. Sir, we're picking up signals, an operator shouted. Not from inside the base. From orbit. Everyone turned pale. Orbit? That meant space. That meant they were not alone. The child's eyes glowed brighter, as if responding to the signal. She pressed both hands on the glass now, speaking louder, more desperate. Her words were strange, impossible to decode, but the meaning was clear. They were. Coming. Major Saeed's jaw tightened. He gave orders quickly. Seal this chamber. Double the guards. No one enters without my command. But deep down, he knew. No wall, no guard, no weapon would be enough if something was truly coming from space. The girl suddenly coughed, her small body shaking. The pod hissed as automatic systems released steam, slowly opening for the first time in centuries. Doctors rushed forward, carefully pulling her out. She was cold, trembling, and weak. Her head rested against Zoya's shoulder, breathing unevenly. She looked so small, so fragile, yet in her eyes there was power. Ancient, terrifying power. As the team worked to stabilize her, the base shook violently. Everyone jumped. Earthquake? Someone shouted. No, the operator replied, his face pale. Not earthquake. Something just entered our atmosphere. Something big. The timing was impossible to ignore. The child wakes, and something arrives. Coincidence? Or a chain reaction? Major Saeed stared at her glowing eyes, the way she clung to Zaya's hand, like a frightened child clings to a mother. In that instant, he felt two truths deep in his heart. One, this girl was no ordinary being. Two, humanity had just become part of a war they didn't understand. The alarms blared louder. The operator shouted again. Unidentified objects descending fast. Multiple signatures, not human-made. The scientists froze. The soldiers reached for weapons. And the child? She whispered one word softly, broken but clear in English, as if she had learned it long ago. Run. The room fell silent. Her voice echoed like thunder. And for the first time, everyone in that chamber realized they had awakened something far greater than themselves. The question was no longer who she was. The question was, who was coming for her? The threat the base was no longer calm. Sirens screamed through the halls, red lights flashing like the heartbeat of a dying beast. Soldiers ran. Scientists shouted. Operators worked furiously on their consoles. But no one could stop the yaw. Truth flashing on their screens. Something was coming. Major Saeed stood in the command center, his fists clenched. He stared at the radar. Multiple objects had entered Earth's atmosphere. Their speed was impossible for any human technology. The signals were strong, alien, and moving toward their exact location. Dr. Zoya was beside him, holding the trembling child in her arms. The girl's silver eyes glowed faintly as she whispered in her strange language. It was like she could sense them. The ones above. Sir, an operator said with fear in his voice. Whatever they are, they know she's here. The words hit the room like a hammer. The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. Protecting a frozen alien child had been one thing. But now an entire fleet coming after her? This was no longer just a rescue. This was war. The girl clutched Zoya's hand tightly, her voice trembling. Finally, in broken English, she spoke again. They want me. Zoya's eyes widened. Who wants you? The child shivered, closing her eyes. Her voice was barely a whisper. Hunters. The word chilled everyone to the bone. Before they could ask more, the base shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. Sirens wailed louder. A soldier rushed in, panting. Unidentified crafts spotted above. Small drones breaking through the clouds heading directly for us. Major Saeed barked orders immediately. All units. Defensive positions. No one lets them inside. The soldiers moved quickly, grabbing weapons, setting barricades. But in their hearts, fear was spreading. These were not normal enemies. These were beings from another world. The child suddenly screamed. Her eyes burned like fire, her body glowing faintly. The lights in the room flickered. Every screen turned to static. For a moment, everyone thought she was attacking. But then they saw her face, tears falling down, her body trembling. She was not fighting them. She was afraid. Dr. Zoya held her tighter. It's okay. We're here. You're safe. But even as she spoke the words, the sound of metal ripping apart filled the air. Outside, drones shaped like black steel spiders tore through the snow, landing with terrifying precision. Their legs cut into the ice like knives, their glowing red eyes scanning for the target. The operators' voices cracked with panic. They've landed. They're surrounding the base. Gunfire exploded in the distance. Human soldiers opened fire, bullets clashing against alien armor. Sparks flew in the snowstorm. The base was under siege. Inside the command center, the child pressed her hands against the glass window, staring at the battle. Her voice shook. Stop. They kill. All. Zoya's heart ached. She could see it. The girl wasn't just scared for herself. She was scared for them. Major Sade stood tall, his voice thunderous. No, we are easy. We don't abandon our people. And now you are one of us? The soldiers around him straightened, courage flooding back into their hearts. If they were going to die, they would die protecting this child. Humanity had always fought for the weak. That was their greatest power. But the aliens were faster, stronger. Their drones sliced through defenses. One broke through a wall, crawling into the base with terrifying speed. Soldiers fired, sparks flying. The drone shrieked in a mechanical scream. The child suddenly raised her hand. Light shot from her fingers, bright, pure, like lightning. The drone exploded instantly, torn into burning pieces. The room went dead silent. Everyone turned to look at her. The small alien girl stood in the center, her chest heaving, her eyes glowing with strange power. But her knees buckled, and she almost fell. Zoya caught her just in time. Dr. Zoya looked at Major Saeed, her voice shaking. She has power, but using it is killing her. The Major's jaw tightened. He looked at the child, so small, so fragile, yet carrying something beyond their imagination. He knew the truth now. The aliens didn't just want her because she was a child. They wanted her because she was a weapon, and humanity had just stolen their weapon. The alarm screamed again. The operator's voice was almost breaking. Commander, more ships entering orbit. Dozens of them. We can't fight them all. The base trembled as explosions rocked the ground. Snow and fire lit up the sky above. The earth itself seemed to cry out under the weight of an alien invasion. The child lifted her head weakly, whispering one last warning. If they take me, your world end. The soldiers looked at one another in shock. Not the choice was clear. Protecting her was not just about kindness anymore. It was about survival. Major Said looked at his team, his eyes burning with determination. Then we fight. For her. For us. For humanity. And in that frozen wasteland, humanity's first true battle with the stars had begun. Asterisk the bond. The attack outside had slowed, but the base still shook with distant gunfire and explosions. Smoke filled the corridors. Soldiers dragged the wounded. Medics shouted orders. Every face carried fear, but also fire. Humanity was not giving up. In the middle of the chaos, the alien child sat quietly on a medical bed. Her silver eyes were half closed, her breathing weak. She had used her power. Once, and it had almost broken her small body. Yet, even in weakness, she watched every soldier who limped past, every medic who worked desperately to save lives. Dr. Zoya knelt beside her, gently brushing snowflakes from the girl's hair. You're safe here, she whispered, though her own voice trembled with doubt. We'll protect you. The child tilted her head. Her voice was soft, broken, but clear enough now. Why? Protect me. The question stabbed Zoya's heart. Why indeed? Humanity had never seen her before. She was alien, unknown, dangerous even. And yet, Zoya smiled gently. Because you're just a child. Because you need us. The girl's glowing eyes filled with tears. She whispered one word, shaky, as if tasting it for the first time. Friend. At that same moment, Major Said entered, his uniform scorched from the battle outside. He looked at the girl, then at Zoya. His voice was steady but heavy. We have to move her. The aliens will not stop until they take her back. She must understand this. The child heard him. She pressed her small hands together, then slowly raised one glowing finger. On the table beside her, light appeared lines, shapes, forming a symbol in the air. A star with 3 circles around it. The room went silent. What is that? Said asked sharply. The girl's voice quivered. Home, Dr. Zoya's breath. Caught. This was no random child lost in space. She belonged somewhere. Somewhere far, powerful, maybe even royal. Before anyone could speak, the base shook again, harder this time. Lights flickered. An operator ran in, shouting, Commander, enemy ships regrouping. We won't hold much longer. The girl's tears fell. She looked at Zoya, her voice trembling like glass about to break. If they take me, you die. All die. The words echoed in every ear. This was no longer about a rescue. This was about the survival of humanity itself. But then, something unexpected happened. One of the soldiers, Bilal, the same man who had first found her under the ice, walked into the room. His arm was bleeding, but his eyes were warm. He knelt in front of the child, offering his hand. You are not alone, he said softly. Not anymore. You are with us now. The child stared at his hand. Slowly, uncertainly, she placed her tiny blue hand in his. Her glow dimmed, as if calming. For the first time, she smiled, a small, fragile smile. But real Dot, it was a moment no one in the room would forget. A human soldier and an alien child bonding not with fear, not with power, but with trust. Dr. Zoya's eyes watered. Major Said looked away, hiding his emotions, but his jaw softened. Even in the middle of war, even with death outside there, walls, humanity's greatest strength, was shining here in compassion. The girl spoke again, slowly, in broken English. Family. Everyone froze. She had chosen the word herself. Not home, not friend, family. Dot, but the moment of warmth was cut short by a sudden blast. The walls shook violently. Alarms blared. Dust rained from the ceiling. The enemy was breaking. Through * Major Said snapped back to command mode. Move her to the lower chambers now. Double guard. This facility won't last much longer. The soldiers obeyed, forming a protective circle around the child as they moved her through the smoke-filled corridors. The girl clutched Bilal's hand tightly, refusing to let go. Dot as they rushed. She suddenly stopped. Her glowing eyes widened. She pointed at the wall, whispering in fear. They inside. A second later, metal claws ripped through the wall. Alien drones burst in, their red eyes burning like fire. Soldiers opened fire immediately, bullets echoing like thunder. The child screamed, covering her ears. Then, without warning, she raised her free hand. Light shot from her palm again, this time not destructive, but protective. A shimmering barrier of energy formed around the soldiers. The drone's weapons bounced harmlessly off the shield. Everyone stared in disbelief. She was saving them, but again, her body shook violently, almost collapsing. Bilal lifted her in his arms as the shield flickered. Hold on, little one, hold on. They escaped down the corridor, but one truth was now clear to all. This girl was not only someone to protect. She was someone who could protect them. Humanity had found a weapon, yes, but more than that, they had found hope. And the aliens outside? They would not stop until hope itself was stolen. Asterisk the attack, the night sky above the Arctic base was no longer dark. It burned. Alien war machines tore through the storm, their red eyes glowing like angry stars. Drones swarmed in thousands, crawling across the ice like insects of steel. Above them, massive ships hovered, silently, shadows of doom against the moonlight. Inside the EC base, chaos ruled. Soldiers fired from every corner, their rifles spitting fire. Explosions shook the halls, turning steel walls into burning debris. The air was thick with smoke, sparks, and screams. Humanity's first war against. The stars had begun. Major Saeed shouted orders through the chaos. Hold the line. Protect the girl at all costs. His voice cut through fear like a blade. Even as the ground shook beneath them, his men stood firm. They were soldiers of Earth, and this was their fight. The alien child, weak in Bilal's arms, clung tightly to him. Her silver eyes reflected the fire around them. She whispered in broken English, "They come for me." Bilal's voice was steady despite his fear. "Then they'll have to go through all of us." The words echoed courage, but even he knew humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and outmatched. A sudden blast ripped open the outer wall. Drones poured in, there, metallic legs slicing through steel like paper. Soldiers opened fire, bullets sparking off alien armor. One drone leapt forward, pinning a soldier to the ground, its claws raised to strike. The child screamed. Her body glowed, light bursting from her hands. A pulse of pure energy blasted outward, throwing the drone across the room in burning pieces. Soldiers froze for a second, stunned. She had done it again. But this time, the energy was stronger. Wilder. The girl collapsed in Bilal's arms, trembling. Her glow dimmed, her face pale. Dr. Zoya rushed forward. "She can't keep doing this. It's killing her." Major Saeed's eyes were hard. "And without her, it's killing us." The battle raged on. The aliens weren't here to fight. A war they were here for her. Every drone ignored the soldiers, ignored the base itself. Their glowing eyes searched only for the child. The truth was undeniable now. She wasn't just an alien child. She was the key, one of the massive ships. Above, the ice shifted position. Its shadow covered the entire base. Then a beam of light shot down, cutting through the storm. It wasn't an attack, it was a tractor beam. "They're trying to take her." An operator shouted. The ground shook as the beam cut closer to the chamber. Soldiers fired rockets upward, explosions lighting the sky, but the beam did not waver. Child's silver eyes widened in terror. She whispered one word, trembling. "Prison." Images flashed in her mind, cold cages, dark chains, screaming voices. She had been here before, and she would rather die than return. Asterisk, her body glowed again, brighter than before, but Zoya grabbed her hands. "No, don't. It will destroy you." The girl looked into Zoya's eyes, tears falling. "Better than them win." Zoya's heart broke. She saw it now, not just fear, not just power. This girl was willing to sacrifice herself for a world. That wasn't even hers. "Not while I'm here," Zoya whispered. She pulled the girl close, shielding her with her own body as the tractor beam cut deeper. Major Saeed's voice thundered. "All units, focus fire on that ship, bring it down." Missiles streaked upward, cutting through the storm. Explosions rippled across the ship's dark surface. For the first time, cracks appeared in its hull. The ship groaned like a wounded beast, but it wasn't enough. Asterisk, the tractor beam kept pulling. Objects in the room began to rise, papers, weapons, even soldiers struggling to keep their feet. The child was next. Bilal held her tighter, his feet dragging across the floor. "I won't let go. Do you hear me? I won't." The girl looked at him, her glowing eyes filled with sadness. You? Family. The word hit harder than any weapon. Bilal's eyes burned with tears, but his grip did not loosen. Then, suddenly, a girl's glow flared again, so bright the entire room was drowned in silver light. A wave of energy blasted outward, ripping the tractor beam apart. The massive ship above shook violently, flames bursting from its hull. The soldiers stared in awe. She had done it. She had broken their weapon, but the victory was short-lived. The girl collapsed completely this time, limp in Bilal's arms. Her glow faded to almost nothing. She looked like a dying ember, barely alive. Zoya checked her pulse. Weak, so weak. Before anyone could react, the radar operator screamed. "Commander, more ships incoming. Dozens more. We can't survive another wave." Major Saeed's face hardened. The girl had saved them once. But if more came, she wouldn't survive saving them again. He looked at his soldiers. This isn't a rescue anymore. This is a war, and now it's humanity's turn to strike. The soldiers raised their weapons, their eyes burning with determination. They were outnumbered, yes, but they were not out of fight. And in the shadows above, alien warships closed in, hungrier than ever. The true battle had only just begun. The choice, the base was breaking apart. Walls cracked, steel beams groaned, and the ground shook as if the earth itself wanted to give up. Outside, the alien ships circled like vultures, waiting for the moment to strike. Inside, silence had fallen. Not because the danger was gone, no. It was because every eye was fixed on the child. She lay on a medical bed, her body weak, her glow faint. Breathing slow, eyes half closed. Every time she had used her power, it had drained her more. The doctors whispered that she couldn't survive another outburst. Dr. Zoya sat beside her, holding her cold blue hand. She felt like she was holding the pulse of another world. Her voice cracked. She's just a child. How much more can she take? Major Saeed stood near the doorway, silent. His eyes were not on the girl, but on the soldiers around him. They were tired, wounded, some bleeding, some shaking. And yet none of them had left their posts. Humanity was on the edge of extinction, but these men and women stood tall because of her. Bilal, his voice breaking. She saved us again and again, and every time she nearly died. Sir, he paused, his eyes burning. We can't let her do this anymore. The room grew tense. Everyone knew what he meant. If they gave her up, if they handed her to the aliens, the war would end. Maybe Earth would survive. Maybe humanity would live another day, But if they kept her, the aliens would never stop coming. The choice was unbearable. The radar operator burst into the room, pale as a ghost. Commander, more ships are entering orbit, bigger than before. Entire fleet. They're not just hunting anymore. They're preparing to wipe us out. The words hit like a hammer. Silence fell again, heavier this time. The girl stirred weakly. Her glowing eyes flickered open. She looked at Zoya, then at Saeed, then at Bilal. Her voice was soft, broken English. Danger. Me? Gone. You safe. Her meaning was clear. She was offering herself. A child, willing to sacrifice her life to save a world not her own. Zoya's. Tears fell freely. No, you don't understand. You're not just danger. You're hope. For us. For everyone. The girl tilted her head, confused. Hope? Saeed finally spoke, his voice steady but heavy. She is right. Humanity has always survived because we protect, not abandon. If we give her up, we are no longer human. The soldiers listened, their tired eyes lighting with fire again. They had fought all night, bled all night, and now their commander gave them something greater than orders. He gave them a purpose, but then the ground shook violently. A massive impact rocked the base, throwing everyone to the floor. Sirens screamed. A soldier stumbled in, blood on his face. "Commander, they've breached the outer wall. Heavy units incoming. We can't hold much longer." Saeed's hand went to his pistol. His voice thundered. "Then we make our stand here." The soldiers raised their rifles, their courage louder than their fear. The girl sat up weakly, her small body trembling. She whispered, "No, I fight too." Zoya grabbed her shoulders, desperate. "You'll die." The child's silver eyes glowed brighter now, not with weakness, but with resolve. "Better I die, free, with family, than live in chains." The word family broke something inside everyone. These weren't just soldiers and scientists anymore. They were her protectors, her people, her family. Bilo knelt beside her, his voice steady. "Then we fight together, until the last breath." The girl smiled faintly. It was the smile of someone who finally belonged. Outside, the aliens advanced. Giant machines with claws like towers tore through the snow. Drones swarmed like locusts, their red eyes glowing. Above, the largest ship descended, its shadow covering the entire base. Inside, humans prepared for their final stand. But then something changed. The girl's glow flared, brighter than ever before. Not weak this time, but strong, powerful. The monitors screened with strange signals. The walls vibrated with energy. Zoy asped. "Her body, it's changing. She's awakening fully." The child stood slowly, her feet steady now. Her silver eyes burned like twin suns. She spoke, her voice no longer broken English, but clear, strong, and echoing with power. "They will not take me. Not while I have family." Everyone froze. The air itself seemed to tremble around her. And for the first time, humanity realized the choice was no longer theirs alone. It was hers. The girl raised her hands. Energy pulsed through the walls, through the ground, through the very air. The base shook not from alien fire, but from her power rising like a storm. The soldiers looked at her, awe replacing fear. Major Saeed whispered under his breath, "May God help us all. She is not just a child. She is something much greater." Outside, the alien fleet prepared its final strike. Inside, humanity's fate stood glowing, alive, and ready to fight. The choice had been made. She had chosen them. And now, war would answer. The resolution, the earth shook as the alien fleet descended. The night sky was filled with fire. Massive ships hovered above the Arctic like dark gods, their weapons glowing, ready to erase everything below. Inside the broken EC base, silence fell. Soldiers tightened their grips on rifles. Doctors braced for impact. They all knew this was the end. Except the child. She stood in the center of the ruined chamber, her small figure glowing brighter than the sun. Her silver eyes blazed with ancient power. Snow swirled around her, lifted by unseen winds. She looked fragile, yes, but at that moment, she was the most powerful being on Earth. Major Saeed whispered, almost to himself, "She's not a child anymore." The alien struck first. Beams of fire tore through the sky, crashing into the ice. The ground split open. The base collapsed further. Soldiers shouted, guns roared, but their bullets were nothing against the storm above. The girl raised her hands. A dome of silver energy burst outward, covering the humans like a shield. Alien fire rained down, but every blast dissolved against her barrier. Sparks danced across the glowing walls, lighting the battlefield in silver. The soldiers stared in awe. "She's protecting us," Bilal whispered, but the aliens weren't. Stopping, the largest ship opened its belly, revealing a cannon glowing with the light of a dying star. If it fired, Earth itself would break. The girl's eyes filled with tears. She whispered softly, "Enough." Her glow erupted into the sky. The beam of silver light cut through the storm, striking the alien ship. The cannon flickered, then shattered in a fireball. Shockwaves rolled across the ice dot. The fleet faltered. Drones froze mid-air. Ships drifted off balance. The entire alien army seemed to hesitate, as if they had just seen something they had lost long ago. And then they stopped firing. The battlefield went silent. From the largest ship, a deep voice echoed across the skies, vibrating in every human ear. It was not English, not any human tongue, but somehow they all understood. "Princess." The soldiers froze. Their eyes turned to the girl. Dr. Zoya whispered in disbelief, "Princess." The child, no. The princess lowered her head. Her tears fell, glowing like silver stars. "I was lost. Long ago, in war. They searched. They never found." The aliens had not come to destroy Earth. Not at first. They had come for her, their lost heir. But war had twisted them, turned them into hunters instead of rescuers. Major Said's voice was steady. And now, a girl princess of a forgotten empire looked at the humans around her. At Zoya holding her hand, at Bilal bleeding but refusing to let go, at Said standing tall despite the odds. Her voice was soft, trembling but firm. "I stay." The alien fleet stirred. The voice echoed again, full of confusion. "Your place is with us." She shook her head. "My place is here with family." Her words carried across the battlefield like thunder. For the first time, the alien fleet hesitated not out of fear, but out of respect. They had seen their heir choose. And she had chosen humanity. The massive ships began to turn one by one. Engines roared, lights faded, and slowly, the alien armada pulled back into the night sky. Within minutes, the stars were clear again. The Earth was silent. The battle was over. Inside the ruined base, the soldiers dropped to the ground, exhausted. Some laughed, some cried, some just stared at the empty sky. They had survived the impossible. The girl's glow dimmed slowly, her body swaying. She was still just a child, fragile despite her power. Bilal caught her before she fell. She smiled weakly at him, whispering, "Safe." Now, Dr. Zoya brushed tears from her face. "Yes, because of you." Major Said stepped forward, looking at her with a rare softness in his eyes. "No, because of us. Humanity fought beside you. We are stronger together." The girl's eyes shone one last time. She pressed her small hand against Said's chest, right where his heart beat. Humanity special, not power, but heart. The words settled in the air like prophecy. And with that, she closed her eyes, finally resting, not in fear, not in chains, but in family dot above the Arctic sky. The stars glowed brighter than ever, as if watching, as if waiting. Humanity's story had changed forever that night. They had faced the unknown. They had stood against the impossible. And they had won not because of weapons, not because of strength, but because they chose compassion, because they chose her, because humans were special.